We're here at the Tarn in Acadia National Park, and we're collecting data that helps us describe watershed processes that relate rainfall to runoff to the movement of materials out of the system and down into the Frenchman Bay estuary.
In general, it's just giving us an understanding of why this body of water is here and what the past of this body of water looks like. And the Tarn especially is pretty important to the public here. A lot of people have experiences from childhood here, and so to understand the history of this place is going to be really beneficial to the public and to Acadia National Park.
Our immediate interest is in coastal pollution. We're interested in factors that relate to pollution in estuaries that have influence on regulations of closures of shellfish flats and beach areas. We are very lucky to have Acadia National Park so close. As a earth scientist, one of the best labs that you can have is a space that you can predict from year to year what will be going on in those locations, and the National Park Service is such a very good leader for watching over the lands that they manage. They have a lot of information on the background which allows us to set up study areas with knowledge of what's been going on in the past, which is important to prediction of the future.
Right now we're on a carriage trail in Acadia National Park. We're looking at some soil and stream data. Basically, there was a fire in 1947 that burned about a third of the park, and in a nutshell we're comparing an area that did burn to an area that didn't burn. 15 years ago, what I'm doing was done, and I'm coming back to look at this and say, hey, in 15 years, how has this changed, if at all?
The advantage of doing this kind of whole watershed research is that it integrates all the components of the ecosystem. So streams and trees and soils and understory vegetation, wildlife, biota, birds, all the components of the ecosystem are part of that system, and we can study it, and what we're interested in is how it functions, but most importantly, how it responds to disturbance and perturbation. And so this pair of studies is particularly focusing on the impacts of air pollution and then how the fire of 1947 altered that, but it also is giving us a long-term record that helps us understand ecosystem function about all sorts of things. These are becoming increasingly important kinds of studies, the long-term integrated types of studies, as the park wrestles with managing the resource for the future, given all of the demands, including the changing climate. Those insights apply directly to the sustainability of the larger forest in Maine. The option of everything's going to stay exactly the way it is really isn't on the table. Things are changing faster than they perhaps ever have.
One of the best things that's happened so far is just running into people on the trails and having small talk, and walking around with a cooler and them saying like, oh, what's that? Is that for me? It's like, actually, no, we're taking water samples. Are you interested in hearing about the science? And people are like, wow, that's kind of bizarre. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Tell me about it. And they get a little spiel, and then they're actually more interested in the park. They appreciate nature that much more, and they appreciate science that much more. And it's just all around better for everyone involved.